Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Leah. How are you?
I'm very good. We've been talking about this for a few months now, I think.
We have.
I've been excited to be doing this. So
I'm very excited to have you on. I was reading your bio last night and I was like, wow. Just wow. Because you have worked with some of the biggest, well-known artists globally, internationally. Obviously, your career in music spanning over 2 decades.
Yep.
And now you've transitioned into being an investor and taking on a very different role.
Yeah.
And life.
Completely.
Yeah. I want to know where did you start? Where are you now? And how did this happen?
So basically, all my life I've been into music. I shifted from like events to artist management to tour management to the last gig I've done was a CEO for a very good music label here in Dubai. And during that phase when I was doing the music label stuff, I was always saying like, if I leave this is gonna be my last gig in music. Nobody believed me, and I didn't believe myself because after like almost 2 decades of being in that sector or that industry, it just wasn't easy to do the shift. But I was lucky. I've done a couple of investments last year while doing the music stuff, which helped me transition easily into that world. And to be honest with you, I took 6 month break from everything. So I focused on my family. I focused on my friends. I traveled a lot. I adopted a dog. Her name is Luna. So that helped a lot in the transition and gave me a better image of where I want my next 10 to 15 years of my life to be. So yeah, I can officially say now, like, I'm in the happiest place I've been since a long time.
It's incredible. Do you want me asking how old you are?
I'm 35.
Amazing. Yes. Wow. So you started really young then.
Yes. Thankfully to my brother who's like 11 years older than me. He's always been into music. So I got embedded into that. I became a musician because of him. And then things led to another. He started to organize his own shows. And I started to just work as a 14, 15-year-old kid wearing a security tag. And it was just funny gigs. But yeah. That's how it started. I got into this world.
So it was your whole career then and your whole identity?
Whole career, even though I studied graphic design, which people don't know about this, but I never worked in that field ever.
Wow. And so you said you got into music through your brother. Where did that all begin? What was that like?
So it's a very funny story. My parents at the time were very controversial parents, like long hair and piercings were not a thing, or tattoos. So I used to remember my brother coming home, like buying a bass guitar and like having fights with my parents, like what you're doing with your life and doing the piercings and stuff like that. And then after a while, they started to get into the idea of, okay, this is the new generation and, you know, they're not doing anything wrong. So I started getting intrigued into his world, like, how do you play bass? How do you go to do this? And how do you do that? And I started going with him to concerts and events. And my parents welcomed that part because I'm with my brother and he's just 11 years older than me. And he eventually quit earlier. And I took the torch when I turned 18. I started organizing my own shows and events and tours. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it just kind of happened organically.
Organically. I remember a story where I used to sing as a kid a song for Nirvana. Rape Me. And I didn't understand quite English at the time, and then my parents caught up with it and they were like, you're not allowed to sing that song ever again. You know, I was 10 years old, 11 years old. So
yeah, sounds like my parents were church pastors.
Yeah.
And I was inside this hip-hop rap scene when
right.
I was young.
Yeah.
But I'd find the most provocative songs on purpose.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it was very funny. Funny growing up with my parents. Just like I'm learning from them, and they're learning from like this whole new generation of rebels, and yeah. So.
And this was all in Lebanon, wasn't it?
Yes, born raised in Lebanon.
So what was that like? I know we were speaking before the camera started rolling about how you grew up and being in a place where there's always been conflict, hasn't there? Really?
Yeah. So I don't remember it, but my parents gave birth to me in a shelter underground. And they told me the war stopped after I turned 1 year old. And I don't remember that part, but after that, a lot of conflicts happened, whether internally or like regionally, and we witnessed a couple of wars here and there. We just got out of one now, but it was never a stop for us. Like it wasn't it was a challenge, but it wasn't like a very like we used these moments and these like time in our life to actually work on ourselves and work on our future. And one of the reasons I believe I decided to leave Lebanon is because I just didn't want to have, I wanted to have a stable life. I didn't, I lived the rebel, the hardcore life for a long time. And I'm like, I'm done with that. I wanted a stable life. I wanted to create a better career for me. And yeah, this is how it happened. And I'm thankful for every bit of the whole, growing up in that, we call it the jungle. So yeah, I'm blessed. I learned a lot. I grew thick skin because of it. So that's how it goes.
Street smart.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And I think being in Dubai, because we're obviously in Dubai now, those who don't know. And I've met a lot of Lebanese. A lot of Lebanese people in the nightlife industry.
Stay away from them.
They're great, amazing. Like I've always found a sense of warmth culturally and openness. And I know you've represented a lot of Middle Eastern and probably Lebanese artists over your career in music.
Yeah, a lot. The list goes on and on. But yeah, it's been my first ever gig outside the region was because of a dare of a friend of mine who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And he dared me to book his band to a European festival, and I did it in Czech Republic. It's a long story on how I did it, but it's a very inspiring story to me because this is how I kept going in my life. The challenges, kept me going basically. And then yeah, when I booked that first gig in a festival called Masters of Rock, I started meeting the artist managers, and this is where it started to tick in my head. I don't want to be a musician anymore. I want to be a full-time artist manager or like a tour manager. This is where the new career started when I turned 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was exposure, being there.
100%. It exposed me to a lot of mentors that I'm still in touch with. And they taught me how to deal with artists and being divas and stuff like that, which is very, very cool. And the thing is, I used to manage bands more before than I started managing solo artists. So it was much more challenging for me to be in a room with like 6 musicians or 5 or 4 musicians and try to convince them that we need to do 1, 2, 3. So that taught me a lot on how to be a team player rather than just being aggressive and like, no, you have to do this, you have to do that. And then when I started working with like hip hop artists or pop artists, it was much easier, like much easier. Just one person and that's it.
Because you worked with people like Snoop Dogg, haven't you?
Yes, 2009. 2009 was one of my biggest gigs when he came to Lebanon. That was I was working for a company who booked him, and I was taking care of Snoop Dogg. And then we did a show here in Dubai, and there was a show in Jordan at the time. And funny enough, he never came back to the Middle East.
Is that because of you?
I hope not. But yeah, but coming, that's been like 15 years ago. We reconnected in LA 2 months ago. And it's funny enough that he is part of a company that partners up with a company that I'm working for. So it's a full circle coming back. And we are, planning some cool stuff.
And that's part of your new kind of work
adventure.
With investing.
Yes.
Yeah. So share a little bit maybe into that. What is it you're exactly doing now?
So last year, I got fascinated by how the investors world work, right? I've been to rooms where there's a lot of investors, but I never dug deep into it. And I was lucky to have invested in a couple of tech companies out of UK and US. And they got very busy by end of 2023, early 2024. And they started, jumping on calls with me to start looking into coming to the Middle East. And that kind of got me very interested, because these companies, I'm interested in their products and their services. I'm not like just investing my time and money into something that I'm not, believing in. So I already use their, services. And fast forward, I'm like, I was put on some different like rooms where like people are pitching, they're, using their decks in front of me and trying to pitch me, an idea or a project. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool and I have the skills of like seeing something and like either at least for me, if it would work or not, because I've launched a couple of companies in my life, and some of them failed miserably, some of them succeeded. So I'm like, and I'm a very big nerd when it comes to AI and technology and stuff like that. So became natural for me to be involved in this. So I became an advisor board member for a couple of projects. Some of them are coming to Dubai, or like moving their offices or headquarters in the next Q1 now, probably Q2. Um, and recently I've been involved in a vitamin company, completely different. But again, a company I use services. I use their services and kind of love the idea of bringing them here to Dubai. And so yeah, I will. That's one of my non-tech first ever companies.
The companies you're working with are not even in the music industry anymore.
None of them. None of them. Well, they tap into the music industry, or they work with a couple of like artists and stuff. But otherwise, no. I wanted to stay away from it. I wanted to change completely, and because the way the industry I see it nowadays, how it's going, it's not a happy place. A lot of uh, recent movies and series came out on Netflix and stuff indicates as well, like some artists who committed suicide, and some artists they just quit music and stuff, and just it's no longer that place that I grew up in, and I enjoyed. It became very dark, and this is why I wrote a book, and this is the first time. Yes, it's gonna come out in end of February. It's about behind the scenes of how the music industry work.
Wow. So you say it's got dark.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
It got dark in a sense of people became robots, became a tool rather than artists. So artists got abused heavily in the industry, whether regionally, globally. Some of them succeeded in getting out of it in a way, branching out and tapping into other sectors and other industries. And they kept doing their music, but it wasn't like 100% how they wanted to see their life going. So, and like I understand music has always been like that, or maybe every industry has been very like hard on people. But when you are one person with a very big fan base, you are not allowed. I'm gonna try to use the right words, but you're not allowed to just quit like that. You're not, if you are on a contract with a company and you have a very major fan base, these companies will make sure you would stay there. If you're depressed, sick, I don't know what, nobody cares. You have to come out on stage and do your thing and sell whatever you're selling and just go back home and be miserable. So
That sounds inhumane.
yeah.
And
A
so
lot
you've
of
witnessed this firsthand a lot.
Yeah, of course. I've been in rooms where I was part of the problem as well. Like being an artist manager, and an artist backstage would tell me I cannot do this show. It For me it wasn't in my book. No, you have to go and do the show. We got paid for it. So there's no the letter no, basically, the word no. So that was a major problem. When I had my music label, like I did things that were not cool just to push artists or like employees or like whatever, just to because I have a vision or whatever. Yeah,
So did you find that you were questioning yourself in these times?
big time. Yeah, of course, because I was a musician myself, and the reason why I moved from being a musician, because at some points I felt I didn't want to do a gig or I didn't want to do a show, but yet I just show up and do the thing, and I cannot say no because there's contracts and there's money on the table and whatever, and you want to survive. But yeah, when I became an artist manager, and later on, like somebody who was running, a couple of companies in the industry, I was much harder and much, I would say, uglier in terms of how I deal with people, so I lost my way.
Yeah. And did you like feel that at the time? Were you aware of that?
Depressed me.
Yeah.
When I left the music industry, I had to stay for like 4 months reflecting on what happened and what went wrong and how I can fix it, or how can I be a better person. So, and it reflected like 15 to 20 years of me, being whether a good person to somebody or a harsh person to another person. So it's all shaping up, or how you shape up in life. I always try to be the good person, but in certain points you would not realize that you're not the good person until you're out of it. So yeah, that's the reason why I shifted, is because of this, because I wanted to make decisions that does not affect other people. So I'm in a position now where every decision I make, it will reflect only on me. It doesn't involve the people surrounding. And not to forget, like, artists and musicians are the most emotional people.
I have many friends that are artists. I love them. It's great.
They're amazing. But as soon as you scratch their, feelings, they're scarred. They're scarred. They're forever, So yeah, that's how I just didn't see it. And it's in my book now.
Yeah. So tell us about the book. What are you uncovering in the book?
So I haven't put a date yet, but I've been saying I'm gonna drop it in February. But it's my whole career experience in how the music industry work. So there's a lot of factors in the industry that artists don't understand on how they get their money, how they get their royalties, why their digital numbers don't make sense versus the income that they bring into their bank. Why do they have to actually give all these contracts to actually people who are like lawyers before you sign? Because 85% of artists, they don't read their contracts, guaranteed. So it takes them to places where they become slaves to whatever contracts they're signing. And we go to the place where you are forced to do a tour. There's no, I'm tired, I want to skip one day, I want to take a holiday. It's not part of the books. So it's everything. Look, there's a lot of books out there. The internet is a very big place where you can just understand, learn, and develop skills when it comes to music. And everything you read is a happy place. Every article you read, every book you read is a music industry is a happy place. How you learn to play a guitar, or how you learn, I don't know what, how you become a very good artist. It's all happy places, which is not bad. But versus how many books actually talk about the music industry and how it's moving, 1%, And you can only do this when you're not in the industry.
Because you've got nothing to lose.
Right. So when I was in the industry, I used to filter myself. I used to be very diplomatic. I used to look into things, think about it 5 times before I do it. Now, I some people tell me on my social media. So I became very loud recently about the industry. So I received a message a week ago. It's like, somebody told me, so now you're canceled from the music industry. I'm like, amazing. I can say what the freaking thing I wanted to say, and nobody can tell me anything. The funny part is, nobody knows this, but before I left my company, I was put on, I don't want to mention it now, like I don't want to call names, but I've been put on big lists where, top whatever, top blah, 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 all this on the music magazines or on music websites and whatever. And as soon as I criticized somebody or that, a certain thing in the industry, I've been removed from all of that. Yeah. So this is how the industry works. And I knew it. I knew what I'm doing. Like, it's not like I woke up one day and I decided I want to be violent. No. It's the issue is that people in the industry, they don't want to hear criticism. They don't want to hear the actual side of the story. They want to hear butterflies and amazing music and yeah, it's not funny at all. And we had one of the major reasons why I shifted as well from the music industry is that the current list or the current lineup of people in offices are super not educated with zero experience in how they do their jobs and roles in the industry, which is now taking us to a very not dark place, but to a place where the MENA region is not going to produce amazing talents. Let's put it this way. And this is what I believe in. A lot of people are going to question me when I say this, but I was a big believer that MENA will produce the next big artist. Unfortunately, the people that run the show now would not allow that to happen. So.
And is that just because of their lack of education? Yeah.
It's, look, the biggest role in the industry has always been A&R. And everybody now suddenly is an A&R, which is a very wrong and very bad for the ecosystem. You cannot be an A&R. Like, it's much more important. Like, if you are an A&R in the global Sony Music or Universal or major or Warner Music or any major label, you have to have a decade of A&R work under different title, and you have to have a track record and credits list before you're called A&R. Like, every international A&R has done the biggest albums, the biggest collabs, the biggest whatever, Here, every person that brings two artists together, or like they find an artist from the bedroom, they become an A&R. And that's bad, because the knowledge of being an A&R, like A&R is much more important than CEO at some point in a music label, because these are the ones that are getting the talents and and putting this talent out there. If this talent fail, they fail. If this talent work perfectly and succeed, then the company will succeed. That's how it goes. So that's what we lack. We lack. Like, the thing is, for me, I've done so many collabs and I've put people in studios and I found so many artists in my life. I never called myself A&R, and I would never call myself A&R. It needs to be like people call you A&R. Let's put it this way. It's not like there's a role, let's put somebody A&R. And we don't have that volume of artists yet that you can bridge, countries and cities and continents, where you can have a track record of, he did that hit song or he did that hit album. We don't have that yet. We're a long way from home.
So let's go back to your book. What story is in there which may shock some people? Can you give us a little bit of a sneaky peek?
You know what's so funny? I finished the book in August approximately, and then I just watched I'm Tim, which is DJ Avicii. I don't want to call him DJ. So does this the series or the documentary? It's not a series, documentary about how his life, since he started till he, committed suicide. It triggered a lot of things in me that now I want to put back in the book. So I might add another chapter from that part, which is going to be extremely dark. But I would say the book, as much as it talks about the reality of the music industry, it also gives you knowledge on how you, as an artist or somebody in the industry, how you get paid, where your money goes through, and how the industry moves. Like, let's say media, I can now pay $10,000 and I'd be the biggest person ever. I'll be the top 10 Forbes. I'll be the top, I don't know what. People will put me on magazines and shit like that. So media, and it has always been like that. But now when it comes to music, it's not credible to just put random people on top lists like that, because just they paid for it. You know what I mean? So that explains how the media industry works. Like, for me, when I launched my music label, I paid the PR company, and they made me go viral, you know. And I didn't have a track record of any music labels, but I looked cool. I looked good. I looked the upcoming new company that's changing the music industry.
A good personal brand. Yeah.
Right. I liked it at first, but then I'm like, I'm believing my own lies. So.
And it must be full of that, the music industry.
Yeah. It's 90% of it.
Yeah.
I still get till now. I mean, a week ago, I received an email. Hey, we would like to put you on this top 10 list, whatever. And you have to pay like $500 or like $1,000. And if I agree, I'm going to be, amazing guy, top 10, amazing, whatever. But
so
I'll be a hypocrite.
How does the industry get back to being authentic and true? And what does that actually look like? Is it even possible?
No, I don't think so. When I used to be in UK, the industry was, it had, because UK is big, it had different ways. Like there's the bad and there's the good. And the good remained underground, and they kept loving that world, and it was very authentic, and it was very nice. And you show up to shows, and you see people that like loving the music, they're loving they love whatever you give them. And that's something like I witnessed also in Lebanon, because Lebanon is very small, and you know the line of events and artists were very limited. So you go everywhere, you just love it. It's amazing. And now you come to this part of the world, or like US or whatever, it's way bigger for it to sit down on the table and be like, we need to fix things. In the end of the day, nobody cares about fixing things. As long as you're making the money and you're making a name, nobody's going to sit on a table and tell you, we need to fix it. It's like any industry, right? But there's certain industries that are just out there more than others. Like you wouldn't hear somebody like oil business, for example. There's a lot of bad and good in that world, right? But you don't see individuals being, on TV and talking about it and whatever. But in music, people commit suicide. Like this is not a fun thing, It's not the suicide part. Of course, that's not a fun thing. But I mean, it's not the world is not a fun place. You know what I mean?
And essentially, there's people's lives that are at stake. So I haven't watched the Avicii documentary. Is that on Netflix or right? Let's talk about suicide. And have you witnessed anyone firsthand that has?
Yes.
That you've managed.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I wasn't very close to that person, but I witnessed that, and it's the issue with that part is that you would never figure out that this person is struggling. You would never. Like, they are the happiest people you'll meet in your life, and you would never think tomorrow is not going to be, a dark place or a dark day. So yeah, that's how it goes. And Avicii documentary, like, he retired and he committed suicide 2 years after. Right. So it took him a while to understand, like, he was unhappy the whole way, and he was just using the whole, like, I'm traveling, I'm doing adventures, I'm like healing and everything, as just a cover up of what was inside and deep. And after you finish the documentary, there's a BBC report on, like, before, and the last part of the report, there's because they put a lot of from that in the documentary, but they missed the most important part. Him saying on him being in his backstage room saying, they don't understand. I cannot do this show. It will kill me. And it's very heartbreaking.
Wow. So he actually says that.
Yeah.
And it's just ignored.
Yeah.
And what is that? So it's a very bold statement. This will kill me. But I've heard you say that a couple of times, that people literally get to that point. They're like, I cannot do this. Are there like common denominators, common pressures? And what are they?
It's, when a drug addict is always, when they start becoming addicts, and there's one day where they don't get their thing, and then you come and give them a dose, you keep them going, and this is how it works. So you give and take from the artist until they, you know, they realize they cannot, like, whatever therapy cannot take him out of it. And the thing is, and it's so funny also, the same week I watched Better Man, which is Robbie Williams' movie, and it's another world. Like, it's the same thing, same story. He was pushed around, he was forced to do things, he got into heavy addiction, and because of the industry, and he was so close to commit suicide 5 times.
Wow.
So how he got out of it, it's very, it's a miracle basically. But for him, one of the interviews, he was like saying, I still have thoughts.
And so what is the industry doing? Are they taking any level of responsibility collectively to address?
A major part of my book, which is the biggest chapter, is mental health. We lack education on how to treat people that are struggling. We lack sympathy. We lack the knowledge. Like, a lot of companies, they go by and saying, we have, this is the month of mental health, and we're going to support our employees and our artists and whatever. We've never seen anything from that. It's just the title. But it's, and the part in that plays in, like, from the industry perspective, is that if an artist struggle, let's put them in therapy for like 2-3 weeks or a month, and then just put them back on the road. They need to make money. And you know what's so the worst part of this whole thing, if you as an artist decide to quit, even if you're on contract, even if, or whatever, or you're not quitting, but your numbers are not doing well, or you're going backward, or like you're not doing great like before, you get shelved. We call it shelf. And they just put you in a place where you just don't produce music anymore, and they just don't pay you money anymore, and just trying to make money from whatever it was released before. That thing would break any person. Yeah. Because that was your life. And you wouldn't understand why my numbers are not doing well, why whatever, and why my label is not answering me anymore. And that happens on a lot. There's a lot in here in the MENA region. It happened a lot with a lot of like international labels. So, and they get into this whole, they owe so money for labels, and it's a loophole. And you keep going into it and to it. So yeah, it's another struggle that the artist, like, even if you're an artist that is succeeding and not succeeding, both of them are gonna be in that dark place at some point. There's a lot of international artists like Rihanna, like Jay-Z, like all these retired, non-retired artists. They left because of this whole struggles, and they just focus on their families rather than just keeping music. Yeah.
So what was their particular struggles?
I don't know 100% what they went through, but they were part of the industry. And especially like the era of Jay-Z, when artists like started, coming out from, into hip hop world, and they were not accepted at first and stuff like that. And then they were rebels and just trying to release music to the world. And then it became just a job. Like, you literally wake up 9 to 5 job kind of situation. And they've done everything. They reached a point where I reached my point. Like, I've done everything I wanted to do. I don't need to tour and make money anymore. But it's a very rare occasion where people have the way to quit. So yeah.
And so people's drivers to quit, are there, like you're saying, like Rihanna and Jay-Z, it was the same kind of thing. It was this tiresome look at the industry. Are they doing anything to try to change it or speak out on it? No.
It's they cannot say anything. Again, you're in an industry where it can cancel you in any second, right? So if you criticize anybody, Kanye West is the biggest example. He criticized his management and all that, and people thought, he's attacking a whole religion, and they canceled him, right? So this is how it works in every industry, not just like not just music, like Hollywood and all that. It's the same thing. Like, if you're not moving with the current, you're not part of it. So,
do you fear any backlash?
Me?
When you start speaking out, when your book comes out?
Big time. um, and I still think that I'm being very nice. Like my criticism on my social media are very funny ones. Like it's not like you're bad or whatever. Like they're I just question mark things, you know.
Yeah.
And people don't like that. And again, like people in their positions, they got like if somebody's working for any like streaming platform or any label, they in their mind this is the best thing I will ever have as a role, like as a position. So I cannot agree with Elia now. I have to be against what he's saying. But funny part is every time I criticize something or an artist or certain aspect of the industry, I get a lot of DMs of people from the industry. We agree with you, we love you, blah blah blah, but they never speak up. And I understand them. I would never want them to say anything. I'll be the voice, no problem. I'm out of it. I don't care. But it's the dilemma of being in the industry and not wanting to be in the industry and wanting to be in the industry, but not the same way you wanted it to work. So yeah, majority of people that follow me on my social media accounts, they agree with me, but they cannot say anything because nobody's gonna hire you after that, or nobody's gonna book you after that. I believe 85% of artists I talk to, they're not happy with how the industry is moving, but they cannot say anything because this is how they make money.
So what's your hope for the future? If you were being the forever optimist, the music industry, what would be your idea? What would be your hope?
I will start with education, getting people to have experiences and how to deal with certain things, gain the knowledge, then hire the right people, and then I believe we will move towards a better industry or better market at least. We've always been saying MENA is the fastest growing music market in the world, but that's old news. We were going through this between 2022 and 2023, and I was on top of the world because that has me and a lot of people were working towards that. And now 2024, 2025, all the numbers are going backward because we're not producing the right artists, the right music. We're not exporting the right material because the people in their positions they're not capable of doing their jobs. Anybody's becoming A&R, anybody's becoming artist manager, and we have also a lot of lack of knowledge in roles. Anybody that gets put in a position in a music label, they become artist managers, which is you're like it's you are putting somebody who lack experience in front of artists that are like they want to own the world. So good luck. You're gonna babysit. That's the role that you're doing. But people think, no, I want to be rude to promoters. I want to be rude to brands, and I want to be that guy that people think I'm on top of my shit. Doesn't work that way.
So how does someone get experience then?
Go learn. I never studied music, but I have a list of certificates and mentors, and I've been to rooms where I taught myself, and I learned from a lot of big names. I traveled over 100 countries in my life. When I say I'm an artist manager, I have minimum 15 years in my books, right? If you have 2-3 years that you're just here in the MENA region, that's not an experience. Because as soon as I put you on tour in Europe and US, we'll have a different conversation. So that's how it goes. And people are learning now from their roles. Maybe in the next 5 years they're gonna have the knowledge, but now it's not the time to hire incompetent people, at least for this market. We need people who have like major experience, and then we'll see how it goes. But for now, it's a jungle that where everybody wants to just take a piece of the pie, and I want to succeed. I want my name there. I want my credits, and I want this and that. But everybody notices in every hit title or headline, it lives 48 hours, and we move on. in my world, if a news is not living at least for 2-3 weeks, it's not news. When my idols used to release music, even regionally, they used to promote for 2 months. And this is the hype that we created. People tell me, oh, we changed now. It's a very fast era, blah, blah, blah. Sure. But I mean, you're not creating something that is lasting forever. You're creating something for just today. And it's not a good sign.
Mm. In Dubai, when did you move here?
It's been 14 years now, approximately.
And how did that shape? So obviously you were always already working in the music industry. What was your driver to come here, and how did that shape your career?
I was, it's very funny. I was attending just a wedding and somebody offered me a job. And basically I wanted to leave the UK. I was in the UK, London for a year that time. And UK was just too gloomy for me. I just couldn't do it. And also, that's the thing. So I lacked experience in the UK market. Even though my company was doing very well, I was booking artists all across Europe. But I lacked the experience and how to deal with the market there. So I took myself and left. I didn't force it. I didn't fake it. I didn't want to be the guy who's like, oh, he just got here and he doesn't know anything, but he's getting this gig and this, that. No, I came to a territory. So I've been coming to visiting UAE since 2001 because my sister lives here. So I've already understood the culture 10 years before I moved. So when I moved here, it was very smooth. People were very nice. People helped a lot. I was part of first things that happened. I was in Abu Dhabi before Dubai. So first studio, one of the first agencies to book artists, one of the first agencies to do certain things in Abu Dhabi. So it was a fresh territory and I had that knowledge already. I just needed to adapt it to this market. So I did not come here and like, I started learning now. So that's the difference. So yeah, that's how it happened. And I don't think I'll be leaving anytime soon. I'm too embedded into, in this culture, in this country. It gave me so much. And yeah, I'm blessed.
And so how would you say if someone's considering coming to Dubai, because obviously over the years, you've been here 15, but there's been a huge exodus of people. Yeah. And read many articles, particularly from a UK perspective, because that's where I've been born and raised, where the amount of people that are coming over is only kind of increasing. What do you think of that? Is that good? Is it positive?
First of all, don't come to Dubai. There's a lot of traffic already. we don't want more people. No, I'm joking. Look, it's everything here is easier to do. But the biggest thing that would help somebody is you'd be in rooms here with people that you wouldn't think that you'd be in rooms with, right? I personally, I didn't think I didn't know what I was expecting here. But my first ever meeting when I moved to Abu Dhabi was with the Minister of Culture in Abu Dhabi. I couldn't get a phone call in Lebanon with the Minister of Culture. Like, you get what I'm saying? And I was been put in a room with this guy.
And this is someone you've had a lot of experience. It's not like you're brand new. Yeah.
100%. So that was my first month. And I'm like, okay, this is I'm very intrigued. And if this is how I'm starting, this is amazing. And further down the line, I met millionaires and billionaires and whatever, and they started teaching me the secrets of how you maintain a good mentality over wealth, let's put it this way, because people get dragged into the whole money thing. And that's the issue with most people that come to Dubai. They come and thinking, oh, first year I'm going to be a millionaire, or first year I'm going to start my business and build this and that. It doesn't work that way. UAE is built on relationships and trust. So you have to earn people's trust big time. As soon as you crack that code and you be in that circle, the sky is not the limit even. Yeah. So
yeah, I've definitely seen that as well. Just even on a small scale, taking my company out here. Once we've partnered with people on the ground who've been here for 10 years, I'll go for a meeting. It'll be like, yeah, this is a great concept, great idea. they'll make the one phone call over the 9 done in the day, because the credibility of their 10 years backing me and the partnership that we
100%.
have.
It's fascinating also to be able to travel anywhere around the world with like one-way ticket, and that's it. It's very hard elsewhere. Like you're in the middle of, you know, the map, and it gives you access to, you know, sometimes I do like an online meeting and be like, oh, but you have to be in US like in 2 days. Sure, I can do it. If I'm in Lebanon, 3-4 flights, I don't know what, and too much checks, and it just not funny. So that's another thing that I find it amazing about UAE. The third thing is you can make a name for yourself. If you are good at what you do or what you say you're doing, and you're good at it, you can make a name. When I was in Lebanon, I used to organize big festivals, major ones and small ones and whatever, but nobody awarded me anything because it wasn't a concept there, unless you're like part of like some government connection. I don't know what. First year I was here, I was awarded 3 awards because of festivals. Yeah, so you get seen. That's the thing, you know. Yeah, you get seen. You get, you know, celebration is on the door, and the major thing for me is that you control your life. You decide if you want to live poor, you decide if you want to live rich, you decide if you want to have a stable life or not. You decide if you want to be here for like 5-6 months and then leave for another 6 months to do whatever you want to do. So, and I was just telling you off camera, like when I was in LA a few weeks ago, I'm like, how much we're spoiled here. It would not allow me to leave. Like in LA, like if I need small things, I have to actually work for it. I just don't want to do that. Like, for example, I wanted to buy some grocery stuff. I had to go through 5 apps, right? Like here, it's just literally one app, and I have it in 5 minutes. And I remember in LA, it took 50 minutes, you know. And like if I wanna buy something from Amazon or like Noon here, there's a 2 hours thing. I have it. Anything at home. In LA, it's just too much. And also, I paid so much fines on my car. That's not funny. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, being in Beverly Hills was not nice.
And it's true. I think every person I know who's a friend of mine says the same thing. Things that make things more convenient, service-based things, they're reasonably priced, easy to get.
You know why? Because money, literally, time is money. So if I'm saving on this whole time to do something, I'm actually trying to make work and make money. That's how it works.
So it helps the economy grow and the culture
$1,000,000%.
grow.
Like for example, here, if I want to park somewhere, literally there's one sign that says yes or no, right? That's easy, right? In Beverly Hills, I got fined every day, even though I'm reading the signs, and I'm like trying to understand, am I in the right spot or not? And every day I'm like, oh yeah, I can park here till like 6 a.m. I wake up 6 a.m. to go, there's a ticket. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just too complicated. Like, they make it this way though. It's not, you know what I mean? But I don't have to struggle like parking my car at all, right? This is like the least. So I'm like, yeah.
So your plans are to stay here?
Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely.
And I have one more question that I really want to know. You said family life. What has that looked like for you when you've been in the music industry?
My family was the biggest supporters of my career, to be honest. They still are. My parents are like my best friends. When I reached a point, especially during COVID was like a rock bottom for a lot of us. Industry was dying and everything. Yeah.
It was a big shift.
Yeah. So my mom kept me in my place. Like, you've worked all these years, you're not quitting now. You haven't done your headline and shit. And she knew exactly what I wanted in life at the time. So, and then Expo 2020 came to my door and I took over that gig, and she called me and she's like, I told you so. So every time they keep me on ground. They're, for me, family is the biggest thing, to be honest, more than anything. And that's what I tell people, like, if I am marrying somebody, it has to be the same love story as my parents. Otherwise, I don't want it. They've been together 53 years. Wow. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you learn that in those times, don't you? That your people, your family are the ones that hold you, not the money, not the fame, not the notoriety. Yeah.
I have my sister lives here for 21 years, and she's one of my biggest like, support, and like she's I grew up watching her. There's a 12 years gap between us. I grew up watching her being that determined person to achieve goals. So and yeah, that has been, and every, like, my other sister also in Lebanon has been, I used to tell her all my secrets when I was young, so I hope she doesn't, turn her back on me. But yeah, it's family is number one, always, 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 always. Now my dog's number two.
Part of your family.
Yeah,
Extended,
actually,
very
yeah,
family.
true, yeah,
Very family.
yeah, yeah.
So how can people connect with you? How can people read the book when it's out?
So I'm gonna have to set the date now, since
You
I'm talking.
are.
This is the first time I talk about
There
it,
we
even though it's
go.
on my Instagram. But I mean, nobody believes that I have actually wrote a book. Yeah, hopefully it's gonna be out end of February if I fix the last chapter. I think the Avicii life, but it's gonna be out soon. I will announce it soon. And yeah, there's some cool things coming to the region. Cool things coming to Dubai. I'm bringing some amazing companies that I invested in, and it's gonna be amazing.
So they can keep in contact with you by
Yes,
Instagram.
Instagram
Yeah.
is my most used tool at the time, app. I'm trying to stay away from WhatsApp as well. It's too much. It's too much. So Instagram, yeah, it's I filter what I want to see and what I don't want to see. So Instagram is the best way. And LinkedIn if you want to pitch something for me.
Maybe there's some people out there who want to use look at stuff from an investment perspective
Yes.
as well.
I am actually looking for some cool stuff. So
Cool. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Elias.
Thank you for
I really
having me.
appreciate your time.
Awesome. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you for having me.